welcome for those of you who have joined us. We are so excited about today. It's been, 2 weeks of planning. And first of all, I just want to thank the amazing guests who have come together: Carl, Warimi, Happiness, Yvonne, Nimo, Edgar, Elsie, who's going to be joining us soon, and also Pearl. Short notice, they came together, we pulled this off, and I am so excited to be here because this is about, not just about mental awareness. It's about us coming together as human beings to show that, we can still be in a society where we've gone through things, but we've overcome them. We can still be in a society where it's okay not to be okay. And as most of you know, if you follow me on, Instagram or on Africa Healing Foundation, I am a mental health professional, but I've also got lived experience of depression, anxiety, which I still suffer from. And also I'm a suicide survivor. But it shows you that you can still excel in life and do great things. It doesn't matter what you're going through. So we're here today to shine light on unaddressed mental health problems in society, but also not just to raise awareness, but to also show that there is nothing wrong with you having mental health problems, and also to show that there is a difference between mental health and mental health problems. Because I think a lot of the people, when they hear mental health, they automatically think that, you're going to go in the institution or you're crazy. That is not the case. I have mental health. I have had mental health problems, anxiety, depression. Those are problems. Mental health is like physical health. The same way you take care of your body when you go into the gym is the same way you should be able to take care of your mental health. So if it's okay for us to say, I'm taking care of my physical health by going to the gym, why is it not okay to say that I am taking care of my mental health so that I can be sane, so that I can be active, so that I can thrive in life? So we really need to start changing the conversations and making it safe for people to say that, yo, I am not okay and I'm going through this. Or I have anxiety, but I am still managing it. So I just want to thank you all for coming along today, and it's going to be an exciting day. Just before I carry on, I am going to introduce myself, and the rest of the team, the amazing team, will also introduce themselves. Because I don't want, like I said, I don't want to be calling out people's names the wrong way. I've got a slippery tongue. So some of the names, Kenyans know what that means. Anyway, so I am Eve Mapanda. I am the mental health director at Africa Healing Foundation, and I have an amazing team, of mental health volunteers who have just been so amazing in putting everything together, all the things that we do. And I just want to give thanks to them, not just them, but everyone at Africa Healing Foundation who are working together to improve healthcare and reduce poverty in Africa and beyond. And I am so proud of each and every volunteer in our team. They are so amazing. So thank you all. And I'm not taking any more time. I'm just going to ask you all to just mute if you're not on the panel list. And I will hand it over to the amazing Warimi to get us warmed up, because I'm sure everyone, it's morning. We've got our coffees, teas, water, whatever you have, but she's going to get us, at a peak state so that we can get ready for the session. Over to you, Warimi.
Okay. Good morning, guys. Thank you for all of you who are here. Thank you for the panelists who volunteered your time to make this day an amazing day. For the participants, we also thank you for taking the time to be here. Now, for our icebreaker today, since we are told how when we take care of our mental health, one of the things we are told is we need to exercise. So I don't know how many of you this morning have done your morning workout, but I will need you to do a brief morning workout. So create some space around where you're seated. Create space enough. First of all, first thing is all of you need to turn on your cameras. Edgar, you'll tell me when all the cameras are on. Whether you're in your pajamas, whatever, it's okay. We embrace all of you as well. And then the instruction is that I will name an item in the house, and you need to go and run, get that item, and try and be the
I'm
first.
so competitive. I'm already out the door.
To be as quick as possible. And then yes, that is it. So we shall begin with, are we all ready?
Yes.
If you don't have your camera on, at least put your hands up. So put a clapping emoji that you're cheering us on, please.
Okay, I will. So, in commemoration of World Mental Health Day on Monday, please go and bring something green in your house.
This is like an Egyptian.
Happiness. Are you
It's like a
colorblind?
beetle.
That's not green. People are cheating here.
Okay, I'll be back.
I've already won. Where are you going? Come back.
No, Eve, you have to go and get.
I did get. I put my hand up like this.
That's not getting.
I don't know what's wrong with Happiness and Carl bringing here brown and gray.
That's green. It's a green hat. It's dark green.
The camera says different.
I really.
Who was the first one, Edgar? Oh, yes, that is green now, Carl.
They're all green. It's a different shade.
Edgar, who was our winner for that?
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
Now I'm confused because
Uh,
Eve showed her shirt.
Yes.
She didn't go and get something.
No, I did get
But-
with my hands.
well,
Let me give you.
Can the audience say who won? No, let the audience
Then I,
the chart whoever won.
I'd give it to Eve then.
Thank you.
I'd give it to Eve.
I
Eve,
think we can allow Eve.
Eve,
because
then
she was up
Carl,
at 4
then
o'clock this
Nemo.
morning.
okay. And the participants, are the participants with us, please?
Please put emojis so you let us know that you're doing. If you don't have your camera on, just put the clapping emojis or some emojis on your screen so that we know that you are here and not just putting your cameras on and going.
Yeah.
Marianne says she's here.
Go and get, okay? So,
Good.
this item you need to get.
I feel attacked, Edgar.
Pair of socks.
Yeah, you should.
Socks. Did you say socks?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Everyone go and get socks.
Don't even have.
Happiness, there we go.
Yeah.
Happiness in.
This isn't mine.
This is too much exercise for a Saturday morning.
Okay. So the next item I would like you to get is cooking oil.
I've got to run down 5 flights of stairs. I'm in the penthouse.
I've won.
Eve, yeah, got it.
Where are the participants? Why are the participants quiet?
Hear us on, people.
Gary, Edwin, Moyo, guys, come on, we need you here.
We're sweating here.
Anyway, yes. So next, who won that segment?
It was me.
So the socks one was Happiness. Then this one for the cooking oil is Eve.
There's no cooking oil in the kitchen upstairs. I'm not going down all them flights of stairs. That's long. Look, I've got
Okay.
baby oil.
Yeah, that's fine. Till last. Okay, another item I would like you to get for us is a toilet roll.
Ah, You're taking us far.
There's no one who's back, Edgar.
Not yet. Oh,
Yeah,
Carl.
yeah.
Times are hard.
Oh, Yvonne.
Listen, times are hard. Do you remember toilet bowl game?
Guys, I'm loving this. All right, so the last item I would like you to get is something that represents you.
Ooh.
Jocelyn.
Especially for the panelists, even if your camera is not on, you'll need to introduce yourself. So please look for something that represents you.
Get me my journal.
I won.
Oh, my journal.
I
Mine is
have
coming.
one.
Yeah, so the participants
Mine
can
is quite far.
they can put it in the chat.
Okay.
This one I lose. Let me accept defeat.
I like that.
Eve, Carl, nice. Yvonne, nice.
I've got something here that a friend sent me, but I feel this represents everybody here.
What's that?
So this is a trinket that says,
Mhm.
may you be proud of the work you do, the person you are, and the difference you make.
Oh,
Hey,
wow. That's
I love that. I love
Okay.
that. I love that.
So I'm thinking, I believe everyone is back with the item. Now, the whole purpose of that activity was just to kind of get us a bit going and a bit excited. Now, for the
Yeah.
panelists, I'll take it back to you. Now, you can we can begin with just briefly. Each panelist shows us the item that they have. Briefly tell us why it represents them, which organization they represent, and why they are here today. So just briefly, so that we can keep time. Yeah. So Eve, I'll give it back to you so that you can call each panelist. So should I just continue with this segment?
Yeah, just call them out.
Okay, fine. So Carl, I guess since you are Eve, you've already introduced yourself, so I'll go for Carl.
I want to talk about my journal too. Don't leave me out.
Why does that represent you?
Why does this trinket represent me? Is that what you said? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, okay, can go fast. Yeah.
I think this trinket represents me. This is sent to me by a friend who's kind of been bared witness to my successes and my struggles. And I think that I've spent the last year transitioning emotionally in a lot of ways, developing, but still, being human and falling back into self-doubt, fear, and self-judgment. And so I think that this was given to me after I'd presented my second digital detox experience back in January, and sorry, my third. And it was just the kind of reminder of, the person I am and the person I'm trying to be and the difference that I want to see in the world. And I think that, yeah, as I said, that may represent me, but also I feel it represents everybody who is wanting to step up out of fear and be more than what they're presented with.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Please, because of time.
Yeah, so for me, it's the journal. So as I introduce myself, I'm from Africa Healing Foundation. So this represents the many journals and planners. I'm a planner and journal girl. I love, because I spend a lot of time in my head. So I have found a way to be able to regulate my emotions, to regulate my thoughts by putting things on paper, which, this is the success book. This is a legacy book that will come to life and will, all my dreams will come true.
Good stuff. I can see Christine's hand is up.
I think it was up before. She was cheering us on.
Oh, yeah.
Who hasn't spoken? Nemo, have you picked an item?
Hi. Yes,
Hi.
I have also picked a diary book. This book represents a lot about my experiences with myself, with a lot of people in my life, as well as certain experiences that I've had with different clients. And I feel like it's something that would genuinely describe my inner self in detail.
Okay. And who are you? Which organization? And
Sorry?
your name, please, and which organization you represent?
Okay, so I'm Nemo Jamal. I am the founder of the Self-Healing Center. And I also work with Khan University Hospital here in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
Yes. Okay, there I am. I picked this one, which is a publication that I did in 2021, which basically represent all about me. Like you can see, it's written, harmony is the answer. So it's basically a description of how I relate with the environment around me and putting it into writing. Yes, I do have journal as well, but for this particular one, I thought I should pick this one because what I've written in this book basically describes my character and who I am. And I'm Yvonne Chidoma Nyanja, and I'm coming from an organization called The Sanctuary, which I founded in December last year, and it's dealing with issues to do with mental health and bringing people to positions of wholeness.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Edgar?
Yeah, so I also picked my journal. I picked it because it's the one place that I go to when I need to just express myself without any fear, without any judgment. I express a lot of, thoughts, confusion that I go through, the struggle that I've gone through, the ambitions that I have, the goals I have, the sort of vision that I have for my life, for the mental health stuff that I go through, for my future, my family, my work, and all that, even with friendships as well. So it's the one safe space that I can always rely on, that is always available to me whenever I'm in need. For my names, I'm Edgar Odhiambo. I don't represent any organization, but I am a mental health advocate and a policy analyst as well.
Thank you, Edgar, for that. It's really, really encouraging to see that a guy is actually journaling. It's something that I recommend to people very often, but they're like, let me just do it online. Let me do this. I mean, how can I start writing? And I'm like, the power of writing is more powerful than being online. So thank you for that. And I hope you'll keep encouraging more men to journal. We have Happiness. Please unmute.
Hi guys. For me, I also picked a journal and a pen. Reason being, this is where I feel like I connect with my inner child. I get to be myself, like 100%, super vulnerable. And the things that I write here might not be the things that, to other people might look mature, but I feel like I'm just like that little 8-year-old Happiness every time I journal and reflect. And then a pen, because just to remind me that everything that has happened in the past is just a part of my journey. And every time I read through my journal and see where I've been and in the past and where I'm headed and seeing the progress, it really makes me feel nice. So yeah, and then my name is Happiness Ndanu. I am part of Kijana Jasiri Foundation. So we basically create awareness on mental health amongst the youth and teenagers in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there any other panelist I've missed out?
I don't know. Elsie, are you here? Pearl, are you here? there's some names. I don't know if it's them, but I think that's everyone who's here for now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so thank you again, team. I also picked my journal. It's very interesting to see that the people in mental health, this seems to be the power to everything, the people within the mental health space. And I would like to encourage the participants as well. Journaling is very important for your mental health. Writing anything, even the smallest thing. My plant died yesterday. You know, just the slightest thing. I would encourage you to journal. And the purpose also for the activity where I was saying something to represent you, the purpose actually of the game eventually was that I wanted to tell you that that thing that represents you is what you need to use when you're in a dark space, when you don't know which direction to go, when you don't know what to do. This is the thing that represents you is where you should turn to. So thank you, Eve, and back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Warimi. I really enjoyed. So for those of you who don't know, World Mental Health Day is on Monday. So it's an annual thing. It's every October. So if it's something that you're not aware of, please do go on Google and get yourself, educated around, World Mental Health Day and what you can start preparing to do in the coming months or even in the days ahead to kind of get involved in being more aware around mental health. So we're here to also create awareness. So the topic for today is the invisible phenomenon, shining light on unaddressed mental health problems in society. And we wanted to choose something that was not complicated, but also something that raises awareness for everyone, especially people who are not, they don't have mental health awareness. So we wanted to simplify. And one of the things that we know is there's a lot of unaddressed mental health problems within society. And the reason for that is a lot of stigma is surrounding that. It's keeping people from accessing mental health services, where it gets to a point, it gets worse. And, especially we're also here, for me being from Africa, is also to think about, culture sensitive interventions in terms of when I was struggling, when coming from Kenya to the UK was really hard for me. I was bullied being here in the UK. I experienced racism. So that really got to me. And also at that time, I didn't know I was experiencing anxiety. I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't know my personality. So I only came to find out that I'm actually an introvert and cannot stand being around people. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but it really drains me. But at that time, what I used to cope with was alcohol. So, everyone was, and I don't know if people can relate, in social settings, I was always, I always had something to drink because I just could not, being around people for me was, and it was so, for me, I couldn't manage my emotions. So my emotions were all over the place. I was always angry to a point that I attempted suicide. So coming from African culture, I didn't understand myself. And I think one of the things that I'm really working hard towards is we need to start educating, not at the age of 15 or 16 around mental health. Mental health needs to start in the home, and it needs to start with even children as young as 7. My daughter experienced anxiety, and we came together with my husband and we kind of noticed that. And it's something that I knew that, because I had experienced it, I was able to equip her with the strategies to be able to overcome that at such a young age. And, especially in assemblies, the teachers like to put the children, in front of people. And, without realizing, my daughter used to break down and cry, and she used to have panic attacks. So I taught her how to get through that. I taught her breathing techniques. And that's because of my own personal experience, but also I educated myself around mental health. So it's time that we address this problem, because it's not just my problem. It's not just Warimi's problem. It's not just Carl's or Edgar's problem. It is all our problem, because at the end of the day, we're all going to have our future generation. We will have kids at some point. Some of you may do, some of you may not. But we will still have people around us, our family, our sisters, brothers, parents. Anyone can have a breakdown. Anyone, you know, life is hard, especially at the point where we are now. So we need to ensure that we are educated, we know the signs, and we make safe spaces for people to come around us so that they can feel safe enough to seek that support. So I am going to start with my first panelist. They're not expecting this, so they don't even know. So none of this we've not planned it. So they don't even know who's going first. But, you know, I read a little bit around, you know, some of the people, and I know some of the people's stories. But I really wanted to kind of, I was intrigued by Edgar because I've had some of your podcasts. So, Edgar, I know you like your story, like your, you know, your personal story. I think the reason I also wanted to choose you is because there's a lot of unaddressed mental health problems amongst men, where men don't talk about you know, what they're going through, their mental health problems. And you've been quite publicly open about your own experiences. For those of you who, for the people here who don't know, can you just tell them, you know, what your experiences are and what you're doing to shine light on mental health problems?
Okay. So for me, my main thing has been trying to heal from childhood trauma. Childhood trauma suffered from the home environment that I've grown up in. That's just been dysfunctional for a very long time. All this started when I was 10 years old, and for the longest time I had no idea I was going through anxiety. But you know, it's just this thing gets called nerves, but I didn't have a term for it. However, it affected, you know, my schooling. It affected my, you know, socializing with friends. I was that guy who was just hiding in the corner. I didn't want to be seen. So primarily, I think I was in a mixed school, so we're both boys and girls, which made it, I think, even harder because now you have to interact with people of the opposite sex as well, and that just made it a bit difficult. Yeah, so at some point, I'd say there's been depressive episodes that I've gone through. In high school, I think I noticed them in high school and in university, but they were not too severe. However, the anxiety was always rolling and always a constant in my life. And when we got to 2011, I think 2011 was the first time I think I had my mental breakdown. I could not handle it anymore. The pressure was too much. The home environment was too toxic for me, and at the same time, I didn't know how to speak out and speak up for myself and say that I am affected. So I kept suppressing. I continued doing the thing that I did best, which was suppress. So I suppressed until I got to 2015. 2015 is when now everything blew up in my face, and I had to seek help. So it was the first time I was getting, you know, to know the terms depression. First time I was getting to know the terms anxiety and how severe both were. And this was just as a result of childhood trauma that I had been suffering. And it gave me some sense of hope because I knew I had been dealing with something. I just didn't know what that was. I didn't know who to speak to about it because the home environment didn't allow for anything like that. And now because of therapy, I've been able to put a lot of linkages to do with now what I have been going through. And then in terms of tackling, I've been tackling them slowly. Again, it's not a thing that is a one-stop shop. It's an ongoing process. And if I was to speak currently, I am going through a phase my therapist calls delinking. So I'm delinking from like the home environment and what that has come with for me. You know, with regard to like the relationships that I have with my parents specifically, and just how I can turn this situation around to sort of now champion for myself and rely on myself rather than, you know, relying on others or waiting for maybe one of my parents to finally come and tell me, Edgar, I'm sorry, I see you, you know, this happened, that happened, and would like to seek your forgiveness for this and that. So the delinking process is a very, very painful one, because then I'm peeling off a lot of layers of stuff that has been my identity for over 2 decades. Yeah.
Oh wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Edgar. And I think it's I love that, you know, you've spoken about something that so many men are going through but are suffering in silence. And I just want to kind of just link to what you just said to Carl in terms of what Edgar said. Was there anything that, you know, you could relate to, or something that sparked you, you know, kind of from your own experiences? Because I know you grew up in care. Would you like to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, and yes, pleasure to be here. Thank you for that, Edgar, as well. I thought that was beautiful and very insightful. Yeah, I definitely empathise with what he was saying in terms of, you know, his mental breakdown and how he's working with the therapist to deal with family trauma. And I think family trauma is something that is very, very widespread. But we kind of don't, you know, we take it for granted that it's not true. It's, even though it's traumatic, we don't, and it's so common, we don't necessarily understand fully the repercussions of how society and families treat their siblings, you know, parents, you know, that kind of thing. And I think I grew up in you know, I was adopted, and, you know, then brought into a family who it was tough. It was quite abusive, and I left that environment and went into care. And I had, you know, a lot of good opportunities happened during that time, but emotionally, you know, I tried to kill myself when I was 10. That was the first time. And, you know, no matter what happened during those 9 years, and there were times it was absolutely horrific. I always had a light inside me that was telling me to carry on. There's something else. There's something else. So I went on a big journey of searching, and, you know, got to my early 20s and had a spiritual awakening of a sense, and just very passionate about wanting people to understand that they are so much more than what they're being represented with. And I think on an energetic level, any kind of base of trauma is, you know, it's our soul, it's part of us fragmented off. And so, you know, having therapy, you know, going through processes, in a sense, brings those pieces back to us. And I think that we've got to stop seeing ourselves as separate, or looking outside of ourselves for answers. We're only given what we can handle, in a sense. And I think that talking about mental health issues, talking about mental illness, but also well-being, you know, talking about well-being is a way forward. And I think, you know, the power of spoken word never ceases to amaze me. And I think it's great that people are coming together and discussing ways to look at trauma, but also to not just build identity from trauma, because that can keep us there, but also just to have personal empowerment that's then going to kind of help ourselves and activate other people. But going back to what Edgar says, as a man, I absolutely 100% get what he's going through. And I think anyone who's able to kind of stand there, realize that they're not quite right, realize there's something wrong, and face it, you know, face the fear, face it, you know, rather than just moving away from it and numbing it down with chemicals or whatever it is. Because I've been there, I've had addictions, I've drank, I've done various things, you know, and it's about facing it. So I think it's very brave to realize there's a problem and face it. And I think that there's a lot more opportunity out there now, and it's growing for people to be able to express themselves without judgment.
Thank you for that, Carl. Before I move on, I just want to ask, you mentioned around, you know, you wanting to attempt suicide at 10 years old. I mean, because there's people who are not that aware around, suicidal ideation. I just want to hear in terms of what was going through your mind at that point, because someone who doesn't understand might be thinking, a 10-year-old thinking about suicide, it doesn't make sense to them.
Right. I think, oh God. Okay, so there's different, so for me, there's different aspects of it. So I was a kid, but I have a very old soul. Whatever our beliefs are, some of us will vibe with it, some of us won't. We've been here before, we've gone, have past lives. Energetically, we can be quite old spirited. So I was dealing with and remembering stuff from, this is going to sound really crazy, other lifetimes, but also the familiarities of in this. And it was a very confusing time, but also dealing with the fact that I was adopted, I was put in care, coming to terms with who I am as a person and what that meant in terms of society. And it got to a point where I sat on a school roof 60 feet up and I put my legs over the side and I wanted to jump. And the only thing that stopped me was thinking about how my parents would be pissed off, how they would feel. And as a 10-year-old, to be so selfless in the sense that you're, even in that time, it was, for a 10-year-old to think of suicide is really something, right? And not many people kind of know that. But to sit there and sit on a school roof and go, do you know what? In that moment, it wasn't about me. It was about how it's going to affect other people. That's what kind of pulled me back. But it's a tough thing. And I think kids, we don't give kids, we were all children once, and I don't think we give children the credit of how intelligent and intellectual and grown up they can be, and just what they can absorb and what they can handle and cope with. I think we mollycoddle our children, especially in Europe. We really mollycoddle them and overcompensate in terms of materialism, rather than giving necessarily the right amount of attention and emotional support. I think, so I think that needs to be looked at. But yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And for everyone who's listening, it's, suicidal ideation is real. And if you're thinking, what can you do to support someone, who's having suicidal thoughts? The one thing to remember is just talk to that person. Sometimes, it's just as simple as talking to that person and just showing that you are there. You don't need to be a degree holder to support someone. You don't need to go to school to learn to support someone. You just need to empathize and understand what they're going through without minimizing their pain. Because what tends to happen is, especially in society, when someone is talking to you, we're always waiting to say, or we're always thinking about what to say to them. When someone is talking to you and they're in that situation, just listen, empathize. Don't push on your beliefs onto them or what you think they should do. Let them talk about what they're going through. And one of the things that Carl mentioned there was the thing that stopped him was the fact that, he thought about his parents. So that is called the protective factors. So when you're talking to someone who's going through that, get them thinking about, what really matters to them. Whether it's their parents, whether it's something that they like to do, whether it's they actually thought of themselves as having a future ahead, something will come up in that conversation that they care about, and focus on that. So thank you so much for that, Carl. And I just want to kind of move on from what you've spoken about to Warimi, because I know, Warimi, I first of all commend you. You're such an amazing woman. Ever since I connected with you, your story and the struggles that you've had, I don't know how you show up, but I just want to say thank you, because through you, you're saving a lot of people. You're very real, in your IG. We've got a newsletter. We're going to pop it in there so you can go through all the panelists. But I just want to know from you, in terms of your own personal story and how hard it's been for you to first come out, but also just be in society.
Wow. Okay. So it has been hard. That's all I can start with. It's been super, super hard. I was diagnosed in 2015. I was diagnosed with a severe depression and chronic anxiety disorder. And what I got to learn at the point of my diagnosis was that I'd actually been struggling with these conditions for 8 years. So from 2008, I remember I started feeling like something in me had changed. I kept asking, what's going on? I was always a confident person. Why do I feel like I have to seek approval nowadays? Why am I not confident enough to speak in front of people? Why am I always seeking, like I'd always have to get a second, a third, and a fourth opinion about something. I was overly dependent on my friends, and I was like, this is just not who I am. And then over the years, now leading up to 2015, now I even started getting suicidal. So meaning that I started hating myself even more. I started drinking a lot. In fact, I was remembering the other day that my friends had sat down, I think in 2010, a few of them had sat down and they had wanted to actually go to my mom and speak to her about my drinking, because that's how concerned they were about what is going on with her. But it turns out that all this time I was just trying to drown the sorrows. So I was working. I still had a very good job. And now when I was diagnosed in 2015, I couldn't go back to work. I stayed out for like 10 months. I had a very, very good employer. Stayed out for 10 months, went back for 6 months, wasn't able to work. We just agreed to separate ways. So now during my working years, I always used to do small businesses here and there, shipping lingerie from the UK and sell, shipping Black Bath and Body Works from the US. Like I was always doing things here and there. And the lingerie, I'd always wanted to open a shop. So I eventually opened a shop when I lost my job. I tried working on that. It just wasn't working, because you see, with a new job, you have to be there every single day. The people I was hiring kept stealing from me. They would open the shop, they disappear. It was just 2 years of hell. And eventually, unfortunately, someone conned me, because they realized that, especially that was at the height of my illness. I was still trying to get to understand, what is all this? What's going on? I need to move on with life. So I trusted someone who took advantage of that, and the shop closed. So I went now into full-blown now suicidal mode. That time I was living in a house and I was on 5th floor. So I'll never forget that picture that I had. Like I would go stand outside the balcony like at midnight 1. And then the street lights, like the way in horror movies, you see like the street lights and then there's like fog, just the reflection of the fog. Street lights, it's quiet, it's cold. So I just look down and I'm like, I think I'll go if I do this. So I kept doing that. Then eventually one day, I just woke up with this very strong conviction that before I take out myself, let me talk to a few people about what mental health is, and then I'll take myself out. Let me at least live with some sort of impact, that I helped 3 people and then I took myself out. So, and that's where now it began. And slowly I started struggling through it. Of course, I've gotten a lot of negative comments from people, like, why are you sharing your story? People don't need to know your things. I have had difficult times and I have to support other people who are going through a difficult time. I'm going through a difficult time. But it's just been step by step, because now I started the organization in 2018. So I wasn't very active in speaking, but slowly I found myself 2010, that's when I became even more comfortable. And because there was COVID, everyone was online. So I became more and more confident. The world was starting to talk about mental health, So that is where now it came from. And I keep saying that the tears I cried, because guys, let me tell you, I cried. I think Eve knows, because we talk on a personal capacity, but I do cry a lot because this journey is not easy. It's very painful. And I think it's just unfortunate for me as to the degree of depression, you can say, like the scale where I was found. So you see, the fact that I was so severely depressed, my life, unfortunately, is controlled by this monster, which is very painful. So yet again, I keep saying, I turn my pain into purpose. That's the only thing I can do. So the only thing, it's either one, I sit in my house and sit and watch Netflix and slowly die away, or I wake up, use my pain and tell people, look, this is what happens. This is what mental health is all about. Come here, let's stand together, let's help each other. So that is how pretty much it has been for me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I think one of the things that you mentioned was, one of the things that also your protective factor was the fact that you spoke to someone. So
Yeah.
that's something that someone can do, speaking to someone. And I just
Yeah.
want to, if you were to put it in a sentence, someone who's watching you right now and can resonate with your story, what would you say to them?
Wow. What I would tell them is that living with a mental illness is a journey. Yeah, I personally myself do it. There's this thing of feeling that maybe in 6 months I will be better and I'll be out of it and I'll be able to do A, B, C, D. So I would want to tell them to kind of manage their expectations, because it can be it's very heartbreaking when you're looking forward to doing something and then you're not able to achieve it. So it's better to be like, you know what, this is just one of those days. Cry if you have to cry, deal with it if you have to deal with it, and then wake up the next day and see, okay, is today a better day? Can I deal with this? And we keep moving on. So it's just a day by day step. In fact, even yesterday, I posted on my Instagram, I've been well for, let me just mention to guys, from February of this year to, wow, I'm getting so emotional.
No, bless you.
From February of this year to about August, I was struggling with anxiety, and it was so bad that I had to be admitted for about 2 weeks. I came out, I wasn't able, like, I honestly didn't do anything this year from February to August. All I used to do is when I wake up, the only thing I was doing was to leave to go to hospital and back home. I would try and go for
You're okay, Mama. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're okay.
We
You're
got
okay.
you. We got you.
You're okay. You're okay.
Cry if you have to cry. Listen, we're here.
It's already power that you're saying this. So
in fact, I keep saying, I think I'll start a crying therapy session. You know, you have a session with people. Let's sit down and just.
and then you just cry.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Yeah. So I mean, because I think this year was particularly very hard for me, because you can imagine from February to August, I wasn't able to do anything. Just get up, sleep, wake up, try and meet people. I can't meet people. I'm getting anxiety attacks. So it's been very difficult. And then, so from August, September, October, at least I've been well until yesterday. I am happily skipping in my house. I'm making bread, making toast and all that. I learned how to perfectly burn my toast, perfectly. So I'm now busy making perfectly burnt toast. And then suddenly I start feeling dizzy. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? I start getting heart palpitations. I'm like, bus. Now, this is now a heart attack. This is not even a panic attack. I've not felt like this. So actually, and the funny enough, Edgar was with me on text. So I had to go through that. And then can you imagine, after the panic attack, I ended up sleeping. I woke up and now I am well today. So it's just now another reminder as well that it's a journey. Unfortunately, it's a journey. There are times it will come, it will mess you up, but you just have to wake up and move on. And then I want to go back to something that Edgar and Carl talked about, family trauma. I really admire people who are able to openly talk about family trauma, because my condition also came from family trauma. And the worst thing is that this trauma it's still ongoing, you know, and especially it came from my dad. It doesn't mean he hasn't changed. He's still who he is. Maybe he will not beat us physically, but he'll abuse us emotionally, you know, psychologically. So every time, even for me, like going home, I rarely go home. And the only reason I go home is because sometimes I miss my mom. So, and I keep thinking about it. So I don't know, Edgar, maybe you can tell me, is delinking, because what I decided to do this year is to start detaching from everyone in my family, including my siblings, because I feel like I already have so much going on with me, and then they have their issues, and then I'm a firstborn, I'm expected to do all these things.
Yeah.
So, and I slowly started detaching from them. I'm actually happier. I still have my issues, but I'm happy. So is that what delinking is? And because
Sorry,
trauma is
Warimi, to cut you off. I was gonna ask that at the end. So we'll come back to Edgar. So I just want to have time to kind of get through with everyone else. But definitely,
No
also I was
Come back
also
to that. That's a very good family.
I even wrote it down, so we're all thinking on the same.
Yeah.
So prepare your answer. You already know what I'm gonna ask you. So,
Okay.
so I just wanted to kind of thank you for sharing that, Warimi. And I hope you know, that message of hope, and you've seen it's coming from our heart, you know, it's real, it does exist, and there's no shame in what you're going through. I just want to point out, you know, these are people from different parts of Africa and also in the UK as well. And we're sharing experiences, but one thing that you can see, there's a common theme. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Like, we go through the same things as human beings. And I just want to move on to Yvonne. Yvonne, can you hear us? I don't know if she's still there. Hopefully the network will behave. Yvonne, you need to unmute. We can't hear you. Okay, I think I will move on while she tries. Yvonne is in Zimbabwe, and sometimes the network is not the best in Zimbabwe.
Okay. We'll wait for her to come back.
Okay, so I'll come back to her again. All right, so in terms of, I just want to move on to Nemo. You know, I know you're a psychotherapist. First of all, I just want to hear, like, have you had any personal experience, and what was your inspiration around, you know, what you're doing today?
Hello, hi, thank you, Eve, for the, you guys are so expressive, and I don't know if I can, you know, express myself to the point that you have, because most of your experiences are, you know, hands-on and sensitive. For me, it's completely different. Personally, I had an okay childhood. Okay, there's no, you know, perfect growing up, but I think my parents were really like present people and have been active in my life. And most of my siblings are kind and good to me. So that has been, you know, I think something that has helped me with my mental health, and maybe because what I see from what most of you have gone through is that the experiences that you've had is, like you said, it's family trauma or sort of generational trauma. And I think personally, my parents were people who might have experienced that. And of course, they might have had their own experiences, but they have been also very like cautious of how they took care of us. And though growing up in Kenya, I've grown up in a small town outside Nairobi called Kajiado. So growing up and living there, I had no idea what psychology was or what mental health was up until I finished my high school. I think that was in like 2015. It's crazy that also most of my classmates did not know what mental health was. And I remember at some point I maybe was a bit of an angry child, now looking back and seeing how life was, because I did not know how to express myself or how to express certain emotions. And in as much as I understand the, you know, the fact that I was living in a small town, and most people are not exposed to different information. And moving to Nairobi, I was now in the quest of trying to find what course I'm going to do for my degree. I was really excited about that. And looking at my personality, I was like, I had the option of either doing nursing or teaching. And the next other option became doing psychology. So that was the first time I had what psychology was. I tried and do some research on it. And doing research on psychology sort of like fell in love with the idea of doing it because I came to understand a lot of things that I did not know. And I just decided to go for the course. And with experience and exposure, I have really like gotten to fall in love with it day by day, because I've come to understand how much of an impact it has had on people around the world and myself. And I am like, currently as I speak, I don't think I have known myself as much as I know myself right now. And I think that is the major growth that I have had with mental health. And another thing is that I have learned to really empathize with people and really put myself in other people's shoes. And now, as I speak right now, and hearing Edgar, Carl, Warime, you all expressing your stories, and I'm just like, okay, I've also been missing out in getting to, just see the raw and the real experiences that people have out there. Another thing is that I have, it's an epiphany altogether. I recently also, I have been realizing the importance of this topic that we're discussing today, because of, again, looking back at my culture, very reserved in things to do with mental health. And it's a field that is growing currently, and it's a field that is gaining awareness. And there's been, I think last week, there's been a very famous podcast that has been, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but has been trending, which talks about a lady called Hannah, and it's a suicidal story in relation to my community, and how we sort of maybe view it from a sense of, I think different people with different perspective will view it differently, but point of being possessed or having issues with jinn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so this has been also an awakening for me and a lot of people. And I'm really like trying to be frontline to create awareness and understanding of what really depression is, and what really anxiety, and issues like schizophrenia, bipolar, like intense issues, as well as issues that people have before been looking at it from a point of just pull yourself together and just continue with life. So I think that's really how I view it, how I see it. And I hope that it is impactful, and I hope that at least I can be there for someone who is feeling alone and feeling unheard and is struggling with mental health altogether.
Thank you so much for that, Nemo. Can you please do me a favor and just pop the podcast in the chat? Something that's interesting, and I look forward to listening to that. And I think I like the fact that you came in from from not an emotional perspective, but from a practical, where you're sort of like a psychotherapist, and we need to hear that in terms of how you see things. And there's one key thing that you pointed out, and I think it's been very vital in my own recovery journey, and that is self-awareness. Self-awareness for me has been the key out of everything. Understanding who I am, understanding my identity, understanding my emotions, and most importantly, healing and forgiveness. And which is a lot of people really underestimate what self-awareness can do. But one of the things I would like to also suggest is go on a journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, because you will get to peel yourself like an onion and get to realize who you are. And in that place, there's beauty. There's so much beauty. People just don't understand. So thank you so much for that, Nemo. And I just want to, I don't know if Yvonne, are you back? Can you hear me? Let's hope for her, because we would love to hear. Oh, she's gone again. Oh, she's having network issues, but we'll try and oh, she's coming back on. Let's put our fingers crossed that because this woman, she's got an amazing organization. Yvonne, are you there? I think she's connecting. Oh, Yvonne, are you back? Oh,
Yes, hi.
oh, thank
I'm
goodness.
back.
Talk quickly before you drop off again. So I was coming to you, and in terms of like, because I know you've had some of the things that have been said here,
Okay.
and I just wanted to, because I know you deal with some things within your organization, and I just wanted to talk about a little bit about how you've been in terms of like your own experience, but also the people that you're supporting.
Okay. Maybe let me start with my experience. Personally, I grew up with our parents. They passed away when I was 4. And because of that, I was changed from one house to another. And the reason being the first house that I started staying in. So because of that, I had to be moved to another family, and yeah, it was a little bit better, but you know how it is if you don't belong in a family. But then they had everything, but you know the fact that you're not their child, there are certain segregation tendencies that I would get. So I grew up someone who had low self-esteem, if I may say that way. I had low self-esteem, couldn't face people. I would put myself at a corner, especially at a school where everyone is confident, they can speak confidently, and you are there putting yourself at the corner. But with time, it had to end a little bit, but still there were some negative words that would be spoken to me. And because of that, I ended up getting into a state of depression, whereby you just, when you're alone, you're always crying and you're asking yourself, what did I do to deserve such kind of a life? So for me to start the organization, which is the sanctuary that deals with mental health issues, it was after I had various encounters with different people who actually came to me and confided in me because of what they were going through. So that made me to think it would be wiser, because I looked at my experience, my personal experience in life, and I also looked at what these people were coming to present. Then I realized, you know what, this is something that was being, in fact, that is being neglected in my nation. And if we start making noise about the importance of mental health, it will be very important. So I started with very few people, that are like about 12 women, because the intention that I had in the first place was to deal with women, because the people that were coming to confide in me were women. So with time, I realized that, you know, you're posting these things about mental health, and men are the people that are actually coming to you, and they are asking, how do you deal with such kind of a situation, and how do you deal with such kind of a situation? So I opened up the invitation, and I started seeing people streaming into our organization, because we started it online before we started to make physical meetings. So I think now I have about 2 cases of people that are presented, in fact, that actually benefited from the organization. I'm sure one of the case you presented in my I came and said, you know what, thank you for speaking to my life, because I was actually at the verge of committing suicide. And as we speak right now, that person is becoming an inspiration to the organization, because his life was actually at stake, and he got to be helped by the organization. And then I have a case that I'm actually still dealing with right now, of someone who had actually totally gave up on life. So through conversation and through talking, people just need to be given an ear. Through conversation, he was so grateful. He was so grateful, and he was saying, you know what, a lot of bricks, a lot of bricks have been removed from. It seems like this thing is something that is actually needed. So you realize that in as much as people are dealing with stuff, there are a lot of cases that can contribute to a person not being well. Besides being ill-treated, besides being rejected or something like that, you can realize that even a simple, in fact, we may take it as simple, but even a heartbreak, I'm sure in our nation we've had so many cases of people that are trying to commit suicides because the relationship didn't work well, like boyfriend and girlfriend relationships are not working well. So you realize that there are background issues that are actually contributing to whatever is happening around us. And to make matters worse, in my nation, I think it's actually a cause for concern, because besides general issues like maybe family issues and relationship issues, you realize that we are in a nation whereby the economy is not stable. So because of that, a lot of people are actually trying to fight financial crisis. You are 30, you're 39, you're 40, or you are almost about to retire, but you don't have anything substantial that you can say is beneficial for your future, or you haven't even built anything that is meaningful. And I was talking to this friend of mine, and he was joking around that, I think it's best for us to cohabit, in our generation, because we don't even have the monies to pay the bride price. So these are the issues that are stressing people out. And because of it, people are resorting to thinking of committing suicide. People are falling into deep depression. And it's actually said that we are living in a community whereby a lot of people are now more concentrated on themselves rather than on what the next person is feeling, because you'll be surprised that in each and every moment, whether you are commuting to your workplace or you're commuting home, you're seated with someone who's so stressed out. Especially in my country, it's very noble. You're sitting with someone who's so stressed out to the extent that if you don't give them a smile, or if you don't give them a positive thought, you'll be surprised that someone may actually go and commit suicide, and you didn't know that you can actually give life to them. So these are some of the matters that we're dealing with, especially in my organization. People are now coming out because they've realized that we don't judge them, because that's the most critical value that we say, you know what, come, let's talk, let's let it out, because that's the first step. Let's bring it out. At the end of the day, no one will judge anyone, because at the end of the day, we are here to help each other. So I think I've said a lot of things. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Yvonne. And you're just an inspiration. And I think one of the I want to also point out collaborations in terms of, if you're in the space of delivering mental health support, please find out what people are doing in your community. This came about because Warimi has a WhatsApp group, and so we decided to come together and do this. And also from the case studies that Yvonne has mentioned, I just want to even give a big shout out to Tinashe Leon in our team, who was referred by it was something that Yvonne was hosting in the WhatsApp group, and like she said, you know, someone came on and they actually were at the verge of taking their own life, and we worked in collaboration to support this person. And as you can hear, you know, there's changes that are happening. Find ways, you know, we are now going past things like going to the office and seeing someone. There's ways you can reach out to someone over WhatsApp. There's different ways you can support people. So it's all about getting creative. Now, as we get to our last individual, and I am so excited. I've been stalking you, Happiness, and I love your name. So I am going to be handing it over to Happiness, and she is going to tell us. I've read about her amazing organization, but you know, I just want to hear from her, like in terms of everything that she's had, but just also her personal experience and how that inspired is it Kijana Foundation, Kijana Jasiri Foundation. And, you know, I've looked into it, and you're doing such amazing work, especially and I love the fact that young people are coming out with all this initiative. So Happiness, I am going to hand it over to you first, but also I want to mention that people, if you've got any questions after Happiness, if you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat. Or if you want to unmute yourself after she talks, she's gonna call out any questions. Please do raise your hand up so that we know, and as time is running out, we can be able to get through the questions. So put your questions in the chat, or put your hand up, your virtual hand up, and then we will be able to unmute you so that you can ask the question. So this is it for me, handing over to Happiness to tell us a little bit about herself, and then to go off to the Q&A section, which I am looking forward to.
Thank you, Eve. Oh God, I'm so anxious.
We got you.
My palms are really wet.
We got you.
But yeah, so my name is Happiness. I am a mental health advocate, and at the same time, I've also lived through mental health issues, and especially anxiety. And for me, I feel like when everyone was sharing their experience, it was like I really resonated with everyone, because there was a bit of what I've gone through from everyone's experience. But for me, basically, it was more of growing up. I was born with a condition known as short leg discrepancy. So this really affected me during my teenage years, like comparing myself with other people in terms of how I looked. So for those people who don't know the details into that, it's like, okay, for me, it's not that much of a discrepancy, like you can't notice it that much. But for women with the body changes that happen, like when you're a teenager and everything, it really affected me, because I could really see the difference between my growth rate and how my body changed bit by bit compared to other ladies, other amazing ladies in the society that I interacted with. So for me, it was quite a struggle, and I really bottled in this so much. And fortunately or unfortunately, the fact that where I'm coming from, like my family members also couldn't understand the same condition, because it's something that hasn't happened before in our family lineage. So it was also a challenge for them. So at times, that's why nowadays, even at times when people share about how much maybe the family isn't as supportive, I somehow understood my family, because it was also a new experience for them. And also coming from a setup where maybe we somehow return to the African traditions where there are so many myths revolving around mental health and everything, it was really a challenge for them to also offer me that level of support. But luckily, growing on like past my high school experience all the way to campus, I came across an amazing community where people are more vulnerable about the issues they were going through. And it was more easier for me to link up with professionals now who would help me really walk through the journey of self-awareness, also dealing with self-esteem and gathering the courage to be more vulnerable and also reach out to other youths who are really struggling with that area of self-esteem and also struggling with anxiety. Because if you've ever experienced those scenarios where you feel like you're having that low self-esteem, it normally, in most cases, it normally goes hand in hand with anxiety. So it's a work in progress. I can't say like I've fully overcome the whole experience, but the more I talk, the more I have sessions like this, like for me, it was more, I feel like we would have just set this meeting like a full day webinar where we just talk and talk and talk, because I feel like such platforms gives us an opportunity to also learn and know that we're not alone in this journey. So I'm really anxious, so my thoughts are not well put, but I do have some questions, so I'll just dive into the Q&A section. And before I pick one question that was directed to Edgar, maybe before we can move to now the specific questions, we can also start by sharing like my question to you as the panelists. The theme for this year was making mental health a global priority. So maybe everyone, starting from Eve to Vairumi, Yvonne, Carl, maybe like in like 2 minutes, you can share like your views on how can we like now moving forward, try and use the resources that we have to make mental health a global priority. Yeah, we can start with you, Eve.
I think we'll say 1 minute. Everyone, 1 minute, because we need to get Q&A from the audience.
Yes.
I think for me, making what I'm doing, the responsibility that I'm taking as an individual, but also as an organization of Africa Healing Foundation, is to bring together people to work, collaborate, share, create awareness, but not also just looking at people as individuals, it's communities, and linking the West and Africa and even anywhere in the world where we can work together to create that awareness. That is me playing my part, having to, for us as an organization, we have sessions like this. We've got a WhatsApp group. We've got somewhere we share on our platform, social media. So it's mainly reaching people through social media and also opening up about our stories. So that's me.
Yeah, thank you, Eve. Then Carl, you can go next.
Yeah, I think the work I've done is building awareness around because we're on social media now, and social media is fantastic. It's a medium that's being used and is going to be moved in, is going to be used continuously in the future. But it's just about promoting awareness around social media and the anxieties, the fears, the depression, the negative mental health that it can bring up in people, identity issues, comparisons, and that kind of thing. And so that's what I want to do, moving forward, is to create more awareness around young people and their attachment to online culture, and finding a balance and realizing that that nothing is outside of us. Often we get busy looking at things and distracting ourselves, and just knowing that we can come into ourselves and everything we need is right here.
Thank you, Carl. Yes, so next, I'm really trying to stick to 1 minute. So Nimo can go next, and then Wairimi.
Okay, so hi. For me, I think what I'm currently doing is maybe sharing stories that are related to mental health, especially depression and anxiety and suicidal cases that, with consent from some of my clients, and just writing it up and posting it on my Instagram. Also trying to create awareness through, talking, being part of such panels and being active in basically maintaining the conversation of mental health awareness. I'm also trying to talk in different platforms in relation to mental health and specifically also Islamic societies and how they impact people in general, and the difference between spirituality and mental health, because I feel like that is also a huge misunderstanding that goes around. Because I know of cases where a lot of people I know talk about their mental health issues and they're told to maybe go read the Quran or just cast out the Satan and stuff like that. So trying to create that awareness in relation to the difference to spirituality and mental health has also been hugely part of what I have been advocating for and sharing. So yeah, that's my part so far.
Yeah, thank you. Then Wairimi, maybe you can go next so that I can, then Yvonne, so that I can wind up with Edgar as I ask the next question.
Okay, fine. Well, so pretty much for me, my advocacy actually began with a focus on the corporate world. And by virtue of this and based on where I used to work previously, sorry, I have a kitten here, stop it. Yeah, so having worked in the corporate world previously, of course, I had a lot of interactions with people in the global space or even people in Kenya, but they are from other countries. So that's where I had started my advocacy, like a corporate and global, until now recently when I decided to come back down to the community, because that's where now we can grow now from community level up all the way to the global level. So you can say right now, I'm now operating on the global back into the community, right? So letting know the community, the global, this is what is happening in the communities in Kenya. So by having those contacts, now it's helping me come back home. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Then next, Yvonne, maybe you can share in 1 minute, and then Edgar.
Okay, for me, I'm making use of WhatsApp platforms where I'm holding some seminars, and also I'm trying by all means to make use of the influential people in our society, that is the pastors. Normally, I do invite them to be speakers in my organization and also engage them at a personal level so that whenever they go to their different churches, they can also address these issues that are dealing with mental health. And also, yeah, making use of Facebook as well as physical. We are going to be doing some workshops in different tertiary institutions, churches, as well as visiting organizations.
Thank you, Yvonne. Then Edgar, you can go next.
Wait, before you go to Edgar, can you tell us what you're doing? Refer the question to yourself.
Oh yeah, okay. So basically,
I think you have a question in the chat before you move on to Edgar.
Okay. For me, I feel like what I'm using, okay, you did my, oh, gosh, my anxiety. I already forgot that you spoke about Kijana Jasiri. So yeah, I do run an organization called Kijana Jasiri. So in translation, that means a brave youth. That's Swahili, that's a Swahili name. So for us, we normally do more of free-up sessions, like in the local setups, like maybe we can plan for meetings and meet like 5 people, create more of a safe space, an open space where people can share their experiences. We also go to schools and areas like, setups where the youth are gathering or holding events, and now share our stories, and at the same time link people to professionals like Nemo and the several advocates that I've interacted with. So I feel for us, we can make mental health a global priority by going to the ground, to the local setup, and just speaking to those people from their level of understanding and creating that safe space so that you can talk. But I also appreciate the fact that we also have social media. So from the comfort of your own home, you can always share and create awareness. So I feel it goes both ways. And it's also necessary to go, to the ground and just talk to people face to face and share your experiences and solutions from their level of understanding, because it really helps. Yeah. So
your question in the chat.
And somebody asked, so he asked, what did you go through in terms of body development? Was your development slow or fast? Mine was slow. It's still slow. But now, okay, funny thing, is it funny? I don't think it's funny, but for my condition, it's like, for one specific side of my body, like things go normally, like the development is normal and progressive. Like I can just term it normal, depending, in terms of the experiences that other fellow ladies are going through. But now in terms of muscle growth, for now the other part of my body, it's a bit small and gradual, like bit by bit. So you have to go for physical exercises, therapy, so that you can strengthen your muscles. So there's no permanent solution to that, only that you can get corrective shoes or exercises that you can engage in just to avoid the muscle strain. So yeah, that's the easiest and the simplest way I can explain that condition. I hope I've answered your question. And if I haven't, I'll still answer it after Edgar answers the global priority. The question on making mental health a global priority. Yeah. And then after that, I'll ask you the second question.
Okay. In terms of what I'm doing, with regard to mental health and making it a global priority, number one would be through social media. So the first time I ever came out with my story was back in 17 or 18. I just went on Facebook after a conversation with someone I met through a mutual friend. I went to Facebook and I typed out, the fact that I've gone through depression, I've gone through anxiety, and it has impacted my life in several ways. And that's how my advocacy started. And since then, now through my Instagram page and my Twitter page as well, I just post relevant stuff that I feel I post content that I feel would be relevant, not just for me, but for the people who follow me. I'm yet to go to the place where maybe I'd make my Instagram profile public for everyone, so that I can keep on with the outreach that I've been doing. Another thing I've done would be, Remy and I have done a couple of lives on Instagram as well, which has gained some good traction. People used to just join in and listen to the conversations we'll be having, and even chime in with some of their own, opinions and comments, and also advice as well. I've also done public speaking in some forums. Maybe it's like an office that would want someone to come and speak on mental health and stuff like that. So I've done that as well. And then now I'm in podcasting. So my friend and I started a podcast called The Naked Ego. Just a platform where we come in, drop your egos, and just have open conversations, about several experiences we've either gone through or we know that others have gone through. And we started this earlier this year. At some point, we took a break, but now we are back. And so yeah, check us out on YouTube. I'll probably share a link on the chat section as well. And then the last thing is someone talked about community, and what I do with my community, so to speak, is the friends that I have. It's something that they know that I speak about often. So I try to have conversations with them as often as possible. I also create a safe space for them to reach out to me whenever they need, so that we can have that conversation. And so far, it's been great. I'm just looking to now just step up, I guess, my social media outreach and see where that goes.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like the name of your podcast, Naked Ego, it's speaks a lot. And coming from a man, That's brilliant. I feel like
Thank
we
you.
need more of such conversations and initiatives from men, because also the male space, there's a lot of challenges in that space. So,
I agree.
yeah, there's this question
Yes.
in regards to what you shared about the linking in family settings and forgiveness. Maybe you can expound on that.
Okay. How I'll explain this is so because of my childhood trauma, I grew up in an environment where I kept no matter how much I kept being hurt by my parents, and it was just mostly emotional mental abuse, nothing physical, so to speak. But I spent a lot of time overcompensating, still trying to win their love, win their validation, get their respect, get their attention, because I had my parents, they're physically present, but emotionally and mentally absent. And I got shunned for anything and everything. The negatives were always what were pointed out, and the positives were never celebrated or even highlighted, so to speak. So it got to a point where, I really want their love, because I saw other friends and relatives getting this love and attention and respect and celebration from their parents, and I never got it. So I was compensated by doing the most. I'm a firstborn, so I was doing everything. All the errands that needed to be run, I did them. Housework, it didn't matter how many times I disappointed my parents. I took it in, and I still went ahead to wake up the following morning and want to do more. And I felt like other parts of my life would not work unless I got this validation from my parents. But this now, when it turned into me going through anxiety and depression, I think it hit me pretty hard, realizing that I've grown up without these things. I've grown up without all these things I've mentioned, and I really love them. So I held on to this little glimmer of hope that my parents would one day see me for who I am and what I've gone through. Come and tell me that they're sorry, validate me, tell me that they're proud of me, tell me that they love me, they care for me, and they are willing to do what it takes to change things around. And I kept trying to find creative ways of explaining this to my parents. And this has happened. So my mission was basically to always package the same message, but in different ways. But they never did. They listen, it gets in through here, leaves here, and so life sort of just moves on. And you get disappointed, you get overwhelmed, and you keep asking yourself, why am I doing this? But I find myself repeating old habits. So I fall back into old patterns, and I keep trying to create another way of saying the same thing, and then hoping that this time around, oh my God, they'll probably see me now, and we'll now get into this journey of healing together and loving each other, and them loving me loving them, and we can be present in each other's lives. But that's not happened. I'm 34 now, and it's still not happening. And now I go to therapy, and my therapist is telling me, Edgar, you know what? What you want is not a bad thing. But now we have to prepare for if it doesn't happen, which is likely going to be the case. So what does that mean for your life? Does your life stop until this happens? Or what do you want for your life? And I'm like, no, but there are other things about my life that I'd want. I want a good career. I want a great relationship that would lead into marriage. I want kids, if that is in the cards for me. I would want to dive into great friendships, businesses, great opportunities through mental health awareness and stuff like that. So she's like, yeah, you want all these things. But if you're holding on to this one thing that has to come from your parents, then all this doesn't happen. So delinking is the word now that was thrown in the session. And I was asking, what does that mean? It's like, it means that you have to operate like your folks are not going to come and tell you sorry, or going to come and tell you they love you. It doesn't mean they hate you, but it's just not in them to do that. And you can't stop your life waiting for this to happen. You'll grow old, and this will never happen, and then what happens? So delinking is now it's a brave thing to do, in terms of you just look at your parents as individuals. You have to set boundaries with them. There's ways like I have an narcissistic dad. So with him, he knows how to really dig into you. That breaks you down, but it's always for his benefit, you know. So delinking means you set boundaries. It means you detach from these guys. It means sometimes you have to control the environment around you. You don't wait for your parents to do that for you.
You take your power back.
Exactly, taking my power back. Actually, that's the best way to put it. Taking my power back. So whenever they do or say a thing that I know has hurt me previously, and I'm now tired of it, it is me to now come up and say that I don't like when you do this. I don't like when you say this, and I'm choosing not to engage with this anymore, any longer, because it has been hurting me. It's now about me, not about them. And you're doing this without expecting them to say, I'm sorry that I did this, I'm sorry that I said this. You're just doing it and you move on, you know, kind of thing. It's a difficult thing to do because these are your folks. These are guys who've been in your life, you know, they're not been at a distance, they've been there, but I see the necessity in doing it because then it opens other avenues for me to explore friendships, to explore things like what we're doing today, you know, with this session that Eve has put together, and the many other parts of my life that I'd like, you know, positivity in. So it's not an easy thing. It also involves challenging old habits and challenging them as an individual. You don't wait to do it with your parent. You do it as the individual, you know. So it involves a lot of second guessing sometimes, uncertainty, physical manifestations of anxiety, you know, because like for example, I live in the extension of the main house, and there's sometimes I have to go to the main house and access some stuff, and there are days I'd feel like my heart beating or my chest getting really tight. And that's anxiety, of course, because I'm about to go to the main house and chances are I might meet one of my folks. And my therapist just told me, Edgar, it doesn't, even if you experience those things, don't stop yourself from going to do what has taken you there, you know, sort of thing. So if you meet your parents and one of them tries to do or say a thing that will, you know, sort of shake you up a bit, you're expecting that it's going to happen because it's happened in the past, but you're going to manage it. You're going to do what has taken you there. And if it deems you to put up a boundary, put it up, do what has taken you there and get out of that situation. So I'm still practicing it. I'm not perfect at it. It's something that I've been maybe doing for the last maybe 2-3 months. It's some hard work. It has a lot of meetings. I call myself to a lot of meetings before I do all these things, but I see the need for it. I see the benefit for it, and I'm just going to try and keep it up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Could I add to that?
Thank you for sharing. We're time-wise, so just something short, Carl, and then I think we've got the audience.
All right, cool. No, I just wanted to say to Edgar, I completely 100,000 trillion% get everything and resonate with everything you've just said. And I think, you know, we become people pleasing to our parents, and Eve put in the comment section about, you know, we have to remember that our parents have had their conditioning, their trauma and stuff as well. And I think, you know, sometimes, you know, the highest form of respect, especially for me, is to love from afar. And that's kind of what I've done with my family. I went through childhood trying to people please. I was a performing monkey. I went into professional gymnastics, trampolining, swimming, acting, dancing, and it was I never felt it was good enough. It was always very played down, and no matter what I did, there wasn't that acknowledgement. And it got to a point where you have to just realize that they're not going to change. You have to change yourself, and you have to come into your own and realize that everyone has their own way of dealing with things. And, you know, you learn as you go, and you can just learn to love from afar. And, you know, disattaching yourself from that can sometimes be a very powerful thing, and we shouldn't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah, I also feel like when Edgar and Carl, you adding on to that, I feel like the topic on family and the mental health issues that we go through, I feel like it's a very broad topic. And I think like we should have a 2.0 session, like a second session. Like now the two of you should like try and organize a session where we just meet and talk about, you know, the struggles we've
Family
gone through
trauma.
and in that space.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
Yeah.
love that.
I think
And
that we can't.
also, yeah,
Sorry,
Pardon?
Mental health talk.
there's,
Yeah.
there's
So,
audience. Let's just hand it back to Happiness to continue on the. We're running out of time, so guys are just
yeah.
mindful of the time. Continue,
Yes.
Happiness.
So yeah. So there's someone in the chat that shared how can we encourage conversations around sexual preferences as they affect mental health. Maybe Nemo can answer that, and then finally maybe for those people who have specific issues that they are going through, maybe if you can share some contact persons or people whom they can reach out to, considering that at times therapy can be quite expensive. So how can people like, you know, get access to such services? And is there anyone in the panel who is willing to extend that hand and help someone through that journey, maybe from a pro bono point of view? Yeah, so Nemo, maybe you can answer that question on the sexual preferences, and then if you can wind up with that, and maybe now wrap up the session for us.
Hi, Happiness. So thank you again. How can we encourage conversations around sexual preferences as they affect mental health significantly? I feel like this is a very sensitive question, and personally, I see how it is also culturally, religiously, and also as well as you know, in general, sensitive question. And I think it all depends on self-awareness again, and also knowing yourself. But then it's also it's really abroad, and it needs a deeper way of looking into yourself. And for most, okay, I also admit that I have not worked with clients who are sensitive to sexual preferences as well. And in my line of work, initially, I've always been referring clients to other therapists who are more in tune with this particular type of topic, because I see how it is also in a different alignment with my own personal values. So if I can refer this question to someone else, then I would think I would also appreciate that.
I think that would take it. I think just taking over from that, Nemo, I think that it's such a layered question. I think it would take another chat panel discussion to discuss sexuality and spirituality, and, you know, touching upon what you said earlier about, you know, spirituality and mental health. I think there's a big cause for conversation in that. I'm not sure we'll be able to fit that in today because it isn't a quick fix answer. But I'd reach out to anyone who is going through sexual identity. I'll be more than happy to reach out. I've worked with a lot of young people and adults who are going through certain identity issues, and I think that there's a lot I've got to say on that in terms of how the media is portraying certain things and what is genuinely going on for people. So I'd be happy to kind of get involved and help in any way I can.
Thank you, Carl.
I just wanted to add to that because I know, and I think, you know, I'm someone who likes to speak from, I'm the one who sort of like, you think of me as the person who rocks the boat. There's so many conversations and I noticed, like, from my screen, we do have correct me if I'm wrong, you know, people who are religious. I'm a Christian myself, and obviously we've probably got some Muslims on here, and just whatever you believe in. And I think one thing that I've learned, I remember when I first started working with people who had different sexual preferences, and something that probably didn't align with my values and what I believed in. And what I had to do was, first of all, separate my values and beliefs from that person, and not impose what I believe in terms of see them as a person, see their emotions, because we have to see people as people first before anything else. Before you see the problem, you need to see the person as a person, because they are going through something. They've got emotions, you know, whether depending on what they are, LGBTQ+, it doesn't matter. Always the person in front of you, look at them as a person. We're here to spread love and light, and we should always act from that place. We should always come from a place of love. Doesn't matter who in this world that it is. When you meet someone, an act of kindness can go a long way. And I think when we start to learn that, and we start to put that in our minds, and you know, separate, you know, what we believe in, and actually put the person that's in front of us that's going through something, whether that is what they're doing. And even if we're not in alignment, it's just sit there and listen to what they are going through as a person. The same way you probably, and we always have to remember that we all have something that, you know, is different from someone else. Someone else might be, they might look at me, they might be a lesbian, or they might be gay, but they might look at me that I've got certain, you know, values that I have that they might not be in agreement with. So there's no right or wrong. It's always looking from a point of, who is this person that is, who is this human being, you know. And I think,
and understanding and challenging, even understanding and challenging your own belief systems as well, where appropriate.
Yeah, and just, you know, we need to be able to come at a place of love and compassion for each other, so that we can make it a better world. And that is what is going to make, you know, we need to spread more love than we spread hate. And I just want to now just hand it, I don't know if the questions, Happiness, are we done with the questions? Please do put everyone, please let us know, because I know you've been watching. We've got a few people on here who've been here for the whole session. You know, whether you've just come in, please let us know your feedback. How did you find the session? You guys have been quiet, like nothing on the chat. Come on, people have come out, we've shared, you know, let us know. How did you find it? What did you resonate with? What was the aha moment for you? What did you learn? Please put it in the chat box, or you can also unmute yourself if you would like to. We're about to wrap up. So if you want to ask a question,
So there's someone who chose to remain anonymous, but she shared with me something like directly. So they were talking about, they feel like they really need help because they're at the edge. So that's why I was asking us as the panelists, or people who have interacted with people who can offer help, is there anyone who can extend that, you know, that extra hand, and maybe share in the chat box so that people can reach out after this freely, because maybe there are people who can share their stories bravely, but they really want help. So
so if you look at the newsletter, the newsletter, we put it on the chat. All of us here are open to receiving any kind of, you can reach out to any of us. That's why we're doing this. I'll also put, I'll give my number. They can send me an email as well, because we also, at Africa Healing, we also do crisis management. So we come from like a crisis point, because that's like my background, dealing with suicide or crisis. So if they want to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to support them. I'm also more than happy to refer them to the team, and also just working. We are working collaboratively in terms of all of us here. So whoever is going through something, download the newsletter, send us an email. You've got the guys, everyone, Nemo, put all your emails on there, and whoever you feel like you resonated with, put it in the chat. You can also download the newsletter to just go through everyone. We've written a bit of bio around them. You can go do your research, see who you want to get in contact with. We're all here to help you. There's no one here who is sort of like better than the other. We are here for a common goal, and that is to help people. Is there any other questions, any comments that anyone would like to share before we close? Please put your hand up if you want to share something from the session. Otherwise, I actually like doing this. I just want to choose one person just to see if our people were sleeping or they were listening. Since nobody, I'd like to say hi to Korea. Korea, at least unmute and tell me a hi.
Hi.
Hi, did you find it interesting?
Yeah, the session was good. Learned a lot. Was listening through, and I've gained a lot. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to hear some voices that we weren't just talking. The other person, Iman, say hello. We just want to hear your voice to know that you're here. All right, Iman is not there. Mariam. Oh, Mariam said the discussion had been very enlightening. It was great to listen. Oh, hello. So now you guys are talking. People are saying they're being picked. Christine, are you still there? You were here from the beginning. You were here during setup. Just tell us hello, how you found the session. You need to unmute. Okay, so she's gone. Edwin G.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Edwin. I've seen you've been dropping in and out. Is it your network? But thank you for persevering with us.
I've been struggling with my network, but the session was so interesting. I couldn't afford to just to leave without seeing the end.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. There is more to come from all of us.
So thank you so much. I think it has been so resourceful to me. And I've also seen that challenges are there that could impact on our mental status. But with such a platform, it's important that you are all helping us to cope up with the challenges that we face as far as mental life is concerned. So I'm looking forward to joining other sessions like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gary, I love the fact that we've had men on this platform today. Usually I do think that it's only women who are always here.
Yeah.
Gary?
If I have a request,
yeah.
Also for the participants, if they could kindly put their emails down so that for any future events, we can just be communicating with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the participants. Yeah.
Yes, please do put your email in the chat if you do want to be, if you want us to get in touch about future events. Gary, are you in a position to say what you found interesting, how you've been?
Hi guys, how are you? Wow, thank you very much. It has been a very interesting conversation. I think first and foremost, I just want to thank you guys for being so organized and being put together. I really like the way the questions were being thrown around and how all the panelists were involved. I think we take that for granted, but I think that was really key to keep us engaged as the people who were listening. Wow, I really enjoyed the personal stories, happiness, Nemo from the position of not really growing up struggling, but coming out into the world and experiencing that. I think that sort of resonated with me more because I kind of grew up the way you grew up, and some of the things are experiences that we are learning as we go in life and not maybe having to experience them. But it was really, really awesome. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Your story is very touching, and I get to hear so many people talk about how we are seeking validation in the world. And I'm happy that you're getting counseling for that. I would love to hear in another session how you're getting on so that we can also take some notes from that. Because that's something I also went through being a middle child, to experience wanting to be validating, getting my mom's validation, why she enjoyed the other two more than myself. So yeah, wow, I learned a lot. I liked the exercises in the beginning. It's a shame I'm driving. I would have also got my socks and my green, but I'm very limited where I was. But no, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Carl, I hope you're gonna do some more outgoing meditation for us, because I would love to learn more about that. That's something really, really interesting I want to introduce into my life. But no, thank you all.
It's actually closing with a meditation as we close. Just before we close, Joanna, can you say hello so that we know you're here, or you can put it in the chat. So yes, we will get to hear more around the story with Edgar, because he owes me something. He knows what he owes me.
He won't forget, you know.
He owes me. So basically what we've been doing, please do check out our YouTube page here at Africa Healing Foundation. I have been getting in touch with some amazing men from all over the world who have been telling their stories, and that is coming out in November, and Edgar has promised me to be one of our guests. So I am looking forward to that story. I'm even thinking if I should put you and Gary in the same in the same room. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming. Please do put Joanne, we are not alone. Please reach out to us. Don't forget, download the newsletter. That's where you can find all of us. Click on the little icons next to the person's name, and it will direct you to their page and where you can find them. Please do download that newsletter. Do share it out as well, please. And we will be in touch with you. Thank you so much for dropping your emails. We'll be in touch with you in terms of future stuff. You'll be able to know what the different organizations are doing. But also, we're going to get in touch with you to also provide feedback, what you want us to provide next time, because this is not the last time you are seeing this collaboration. We will continue to spread the message together. And as we close, we're going to close with a meditation from Carl. And I just want to say thank you so much to the amazing panelists. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. This is the first time some of us are seeing each other, but it's like we've known each other for years. I just want to say thank you for, just putting your hand up to join me, because I did not want to do this alone. Thank you for your time. It means so much to me, and it's something that I don't take for granted, and also coming and sharing your stories. So, Carl, close us with some mindfulness.
I wanted to put in the chat, but I'm such a technophobe. I wanted to put in the chat my YouTube, because as some of you know, and I will send it, I'll get Eve to send it out to people, the link. I've got a meditation, a guided meditation. It's not the one I'm going to do for you in a minute, but I've got a guided meditation that can be used any time of the day or night. And it's called Activating Confidence in the Dream Safari. And if you just click like, or to get a bell for when it comes out on the 13th, if you're interested in that, then that'll be available on my YouTube channel. So for today, I've written a little something. So everybody get comfortable. Take a deep breath in and close your eyes. Wonderful. Okay, so sit back, relax, and breathe. Take a deep breath in and slowly out, counting backwards from 3, 2, 1. And again, in. Focusing on your breathing helps calm the mind and soothe the soul. So just center yourself in this moment and go again, taking a deep breath in for 4, and again out for 5. And in for 5. And out for 6. Beautiful. Now imagine yourself falling slowly down from the sky, arriving at the foot of a warm tropical savanna. Over to the left, you notice a crystal river, so intricate and peaceful in your ears. In the distance, you see a lake and a small waterfall. Looking up, you see the sun is shining, the air is warm and fragrant, and the grass is soft and springy beneath your feet. As you stand in this lush green space, you allow yourself to take another deep breath in and slowly out, falling deeper into this safe space. Now notice in front of you, there is a huge marble mirror glistening in the sunlight. And as you look into this mirror, you notice a reflection looking back at you, glowing, radiant, powerful, and beautiful. As you look in this mirror, you intuitively know the person is your best friend, and you can't help but love them unconditionally. As you look into this mirror, you have a moment of deep self-awareness, saying to yourself in your mind's eye, I am the peace. I am the truth. I am the love. And I am the change. Feeling this vibration of these words wrap around your heart, again once more you repeat, I am the peace. I am the truth. I am the love. I am the change. As you repeat these words, you feel an inner wisdom accessing a part of yourself you may have kept hidden, but now feel it is safe to share. As you look back at yourself, you fall deeply into confidence and self-acceptance. You feel it move over your body. And as you continue to feel the energy of these words, notice the mirror has disappeared, but the feelings of self-acceptance, gratitude, pride, and love remain. As you walk back through the meadow, through the savannah, you know you don't need anyone else's acceptance, but only your own. Remember, the light is you, and you have the power to light up the world. Now, with this activation of love and self-acceptance, I invite you back into physicality. I will now count backwards from 3. Notice the chair beneath you. 2, wriggle your fingers and take a deep breath in and open your eyes. And 1, welcome back.
Thank you. I think I wanted to stay in the savannah. Thank you so much for that, Carl. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. You've been patient. We didn't expect to go over 2 hours, but clearly it was that interesting.